think of the game of yesteryear. It could be NBA.
Yeah.
Could be baseball. It's not all the time we hear old school baseball guys hating on the game today. But David Wells thinks that baseball is headed in the wrong direction.
Well, I have a good question for you.
He says the players are entitled, making more money than putting their bodies on the line in and out day and night like they did.
That's like a dumb statement, though.
I'm just telling you what he said.
I'm telling you, David Wells got a dumb statement.
But what stood out most to me is that he hasn't watched a game in 4 years because he's so mad at the way it's played today.
All right.
So it made me think of like other eye-rolly things you hear people say.
Perfect.
And he named a bunch of them.
Perfect. Let me give you I'll pose the question for everyone if they want to chime in. I'll check our Twitter. I'll check our phone calls. 877-99 on Fox. What old school narratives do you roll your eyes at the most? Because I have a few. It's a guy like David Wells saying, everyone's soft.
He's saying
they're pampered.
A different breed right now. They're pampered a little bit. They're coddled. Again, courtesy of the Dan Le Batard Show.
I hate when, and you know what? I'll back up Draymond. When Draymond says, why does everyone think the NBA players back then were tougher? Were they tougher or were the rules a little lighter? So, you know,
both.
Bill Laimbeer and guys could clothesline you, and they would be
both.
like, it would be like foul.
They played within the rules that were given.
Yeah.
I get it,
so
right?
you don't think guys like
but
Giannis
it was a tougher game.
But you don't think big guys today would be rough and tough if
that's
they
the thing.
could? They're just playing within the boundaries of what they're
That's why it's fun to have a two-sided argument, but no one ever wants to have, or discussion, I should say. People want to see it one way, and that's it. And if you don't agree with them, they cry about it on Twitter. We talked about that. Because, yeah, it was tougher because the rules were looser, right? But today's game is a more athletic game. You're seeing physical specimens that didn't exist back then.
I said David Wells is saying, guys are pampered. Back in the 90s and 80s, if a guy threw 95, it was elite. Guys were throwing in the low 90s, that was heat.
Exactly.
Guys on every team throw 101 now. I think I saw the other day. Who was it? It wasn't Striker.
I believe I'm the guy with the highest average fastball throughout the year. Garrett Cole here. I think my average fastball is 98 consistently. I think I'm still throwing the heat.
Like DeGrom does his rehab start. First 3 pitches, 101, 101, 100.
I think Chapman was one of the first guys. We're like, is this guy for real? And now he gets rocked.
I don't know if it's
You're thinking about rookie Hunter Green, right?
Hunter Green.
He struck out like 8 people on 100-mile-an-hour pitches the other day.
It's insane. Like, so to say that the game's not evolving, okay, David Wells with your old guy take, wearing his Babe Ruth hat, eating his hot dogs. David Wells was a fun pitcher to watch.
That's dismissive of you.
Oh, I'll give you one.
Again, just because it's a new school thought doesn't make it right.
Yeah, but just because
it doesn't make him wrong.
Just because it's an older legend that was a great player saying it doesn't mean the new school is wrong. I'll give you an NFL one.
But that's why there's two sides to the story.
Quarterbacks are protected too much. They would never yeah, but do you think quarterbacks should be blindsided like Montana was and like buried into the ground? You think people should be snapping legs like Joe Theismann? These guys would throw a football. You could be like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, and then Lawrence Taylor would annihilate you. It was a different game. So I was talking off there about Ronnie Lott, one of my favorite players ever. Ronnie Lott was feared. He was a beast. One of the toughest players in NFL history. Ronnie Lott couldn't play that game now. Ronnie Lott would be thrown out of every game if he played that style of play. That doesn't mean the game's different. That doesn't mean the game's worse now. It's different.
I actually agree with you. When Rich and I agree, it's fact. Here's another quote from David Wells. Back in the day when he played, he said, you had to have that bulldog mentality. You look at Oral Hershiser. He was the epitome of that. He didn't care. He was grinding. Look what he did. Today, coach comes out, he says, sit your ass in the dugout. And the player goes. Okay. You know, they would say, no, man, I want to stay in. They would fight it. Again, this is according to David Wells and why he doesn't watch. But the most eye-rolly thing about it, to me, is the fact that he says he stopped watching.
Yeah.
You know, and
you know what it's like to me?
And it made me think of other eye-rolly things in sports.
I'll
we'll open up the phones and feedback to that. Hit us up at Covino and Rich, at Steve Covino, at Rich Davis, at Spot Center. But let us know. I'd rather hear from you. 877-99 on Fox. Other eye-rolly things in sports or in life.
Speaking of Oral Hershiser, Jason, I know you're a Dodgers guy. How great does he look? Oral?
No, he does.
He looks fantastic.
He
like
does.
If you see him doing a broadcast, it's like,
right.
He has aged well. A lot of these guys do not. Oral Hershiser's a great insight, and man, I'll never forget that '88 season where he was just. I mean, have you seen when you talk about like unhittable seasons
on a Throwback Thursday? Though, you know how we surprised Isaac Lowenkron with that random Warner Wolf bit?
Yeah.
Do you remember he was on a talk show, like a late night show, like Johnny Carson or something? One of the late night. He may have been Arsenio. I don't remember what year it was. But they're like, yeah, Oral Hershiser, you sing, huh? And he starts singing like these church songs. You ever see that or no?
I've never seen
I remember as a kid. I remember as a kid seeing Oral Hershiser like singing like church.
I think you dreamt this.
Nope.
I think you had a weird dream.
It's possible, but I know for a fact it's true because I remember watching it.
That sounds on brand.
Yeah.
He was kind of a square.
Yeah.
He was kind of a square.
It was a throw. That's why, honestly, that's why this quote also sticks out to me because he was great. But I never thought of Oral Hershiser as that bulldog mentality because he was kind of a square guy.
He was
like
kind
Jason
of a nerd,
said.
but I remember him being tough, though.
Yeah. That's what makes him awesome, though.
I think of, and I'll bring him up because he's my dude now, Max Scherzer. He might be one of the only guys in baseball now that you could tell the pitching coach is slightly scared of. Like you don't want to go if you're going out to the mound.
Yeah, but that's what's old school.
If you're
about
going out to the mound.
See, no, but you're praising him. Let's call it fair. You're praising him for the old school toughness that he's showing. Be fair about it, at least.
That's true.
So it's like it's hard to pick sides if you open up your mind and see both sides. That's the problem with today's world. People only want to see what they think is right.
People like to operate in sports, politics, life very much in black and white.
That's
they never
it.
like to
to me. This is what I did, so it has to be right.
Why can't we just all agree? Because the reality, if you really want to be real, the reality is a mix of old school and new school is probably the right answer, right?
Yes.
But everyone needs to be no, 100% old school or 100% new school. Like I'll tell you right now,
there's a compromise in the middle on everything,
right? Hey, maybe baseball could be a little tougher. Maybe it is a little softer. But you know what? Baseball needs to evolve, and some of the changes they've made, and some of these athletes,
it can't stay the same way.
Are elite.
Yeah,
I mean, that you can't
say you need changes and keep it the same way.
You can't compare some of the guys that played back then to some of the athletic dudes that are playing now.
Oh, like Walt Weiss and Jose Canseco?
Walt Weiss.
Look at Walt, look at Rafael Santana, like some of these guys.
Matt Stairs, the professional hitter.
Yeah,
what athletic guy are you talking about?
You're talking about athletic guys.
Mike Gallego.
Mike Gallego, yeah.
Oh, good one.
Dave Stewart, that guy. Was
how about
scary on the mound.
Carney Lansford, bro?
He had a great mustache.
Yeah, athletic guys.
I have a real life example. And
Let's hear it.
It just happened about 6 weeks ago. My dad was visiting from New York. He's 73, and he's always fumbling around with the smartphone, right? And he says out loud, "Man, I just wish these things worked as phones. That's all I needed to work as a phone." That you cannot sound more old.
That is with all respect to your dad, that could be the oldest old guy statement. I just wish this operated as a phone. What does your parents have? Like some other weird phone?
The Jitterbug.
The Jitterbug with the giant buttons.
Yeah.
It's just a flip phone with huge buttons.
In these moments,
large display.
In these moments, I'm so proud of my dad for having an iPad and an iPhone and using them. I'm like, oh, Dad, I'm so proud of you.
My parents love their Jitterbug. You better relax. They're gonna get mad at you.
The reality is, anyone listening right now that's younger, the goal is to try to delay that as long as possible, because one day we all will become the guy that's like, well, it used to be this way.
Well, it goes to what we say all the time. You got to evolve, and relevance is a choice, right? If you're stuck, here's what happens.
Yeah.
If you're stuck in your old school ways of thinking on everything, because people accuse me of being old school, then you're angry about the changes in life and where life is headed, and then you stop enjoying things that you love, like him not watching baseball.
Sadly,
if he would just be open-minded to be like, you know what, the game has to change because we live in an ever-changing world. Instead, he spites himself and he hates the game. Like, that's sad. So you have to evolve.
Can I add one more eye-rolling thing in sports and entertainment? When someone says they're no longer watching a sport because of something that happened, possibly politically, or a statement like the people like, I'm never watching the NFL again. It's like, they don't miss you.
And by the way, they never stick to it. I never. Do you have any friends that move to Canada? No. I don't.
I'm moving to Canada. If Trump wins, I'm moving to Canada. I don't know anyone that moved to Canada.
So other eye-rolly things that people say, like David Wells saying he doesn't watch baseball anymore.
My friend's dad, who's a lifer Yankees fan, like old school New York Yankees guy, Ralph, my friend Christina's dad, Ralph, said,
It's a strong old guy name.
He said, I'm not watching the Yankees ever again. And it had to do with like someone not coming out of the dugout or something for the Pledge of Allegiance. Like, it was during the whole like Kaepernick and other sports were sort of following the lead of like who's kneeling or who's standing. And he's like, I'm not watching the Yankees ever again. I'm like, you, who
Doesn't he have isn't his basement painted in pinstripes?
Yes, like we're talking about, like Ralph, your whole life.
Doesn't he have the facade in his basement?
From Mickey Mantle to Derek Jeter to everyone in between, all you talk to me about is the Yankees. And you're done now? I don't buy it. I don't believe it. So when people take a stance like that, I'm always like, okay, sure. Never watching football again? Thumbs up. Okay.
I have to say it's gonna upset a lot of people.
Yeah,
but it's okay. I'll be vague about it. When people love to preach about their diet, it is eye-rolly. It is that same sort of thing of I don't watch TV. And in this case, I don't watch baseball anymore because I haven't evolved in my way of thinking. That's definitely eye-rolly. Other eye-rolly things, let's open it up.
Yeah.